Did we stop?
You stopped on the word escape.
Sorry?
You stopped on the word escape. I remember that. You were talking about escaping after... Hold on, I'm trying to think.
Well, we were finishing up the,
Yeah?
what was the story about your false ID?
Yeah, your false
But
ID
you
finding your
ended
birth
it.
certificate.
And I forgot where you ended it.
Uh-huh.
You ended it after you found your birth certificate.
Okay. So I got my birth certificate and I got the real ID of Andrei Prazinski that was of a real person. They could check it and they would find my birth certificate and that I was Andrei Prazinski. Okay, so I continued to go and smuggle the chemicals. So I made another trip to Radom to get the chemicals and came back. And I
Oh, okay. I'll check it. All right.
and I found out, I don't remember the occasion, how I found out that my brother was probably in the labor camp in Skarżysko-Kamienna, where there was a factory of anti-aircraft guns by the Hermann Göring Werke, the German company that made for the army. But I wasn't sure because that information I got from Kostek's, my boss' sister, who appeared one night at the house where his two sisters lived in the farmer's woman's house that I rented for them, and turned out that she was hiding in the forest with her boyfriend. They were hiding in a forest and they were very insecure. So they came at night and they decided that they will dig a hole in the barn for them and they will hide in the hole in the barn. But the owner didn't know it yet, So they went back to the forest, and they were supposed to come the next day. Mm. And the woman, the owner of the house, the Polish farmer's wife, she had a worker that came every day, to work for her in the field and do things. So we had to arrange it in such a way that that worker wouldn't know that someone is hiding, because we couldn't trust that worker. So anyway, we decided that by the time Kostek leg was okay and he could work and so on, so we went with Kostek to his sisters, and we went late in the afternoon when the worker was gone, and we started digging a hole in the barn, and we had to take the earth and spread it in such a way that it was not obvious,
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, we managed to dig the hole, and they came and we covered it with straw, and they were, and also they, now, we told them, before we started doing all that, we told them to come at night and pretend that they don't know that the sisters are living there, and ask the farmer's woman to hide her in the barn and tell her. And they told her that they will pay her with dollars very much. They had money. So the woman was greedy, so she agreed. And they said that, now the woman knew that I and Kostek, we were their friends. They didn't know that we were connected.
Yeah.
So we pretended that we are coming, visiting, that we have a romance with them,
Mm-hmm.
So we came late in the afternoon, and we stayed overnight, and we digged the hole. In a couple of days everything was done, and they were hiding in that hole. They survived in that hole, but before they survived, the sisters had to escape, and I'll tell you a little later what happened. The sisters had to escape, and the sisters were gone, and these two people were sitting in that bar. So that woman, that Polish farmer's wife, she was desperate, because she didn't want to kill them, but she had to come every night and bring them food.
Mm-hmm.
So she was so desperate that she brought them food that she spit in the food that she gave them. But anyway, they survived. Now, coming back to us, I told you the two sisters that one of them was not looking was a little looking similar to Jewish.
Mhm.
And she was so afraid that she decided, at that time, the Germans, they were recruiting Polish people voluntarily, not arresting them, but recruiting them to voluntarily go to Germany to work for German families, because the Germans, all the men were in the army, were on the front, and only women and old men left to work in the fields. So they were desperate to get workers. So they recruited in Poland, even that they were not slave labor. So the sister decided that she will go to the office where they recruited, and she will volunteer to go to Germany as a Polish worker. And she had false ID. But they became conspicuous, and they arrested her. And when they arrested her, at that time I was on my trip. So I was not there. So at that time, I had to go back in time. But anyway, at that time they decided that when they found out that she was Jewish, they may come and arrested them and shoot them.
Mhm.
So they escaped. Now that was a little later. I have to go back in time. When I found out from that couple that, that probably my brother, who was taken to a labor camp, that he may be in that town from which they came in the labor camp. So I decided to find him. And this was also described in this book, that when we were children, when we were playing seek and find, we were whistling a tune that before the war, in our hometown, at 12 o'clock, the fireman was trumpeting every day at 12 o'clock, was trumpeting a tune, an anthem. And we learned that, and when we were playing, we were using that tune to find each other. So when I decided to find my brother in the camp, I went to that place, which was one of the towns on the way where between Radom and Staszów, where I was, transferring the chemicals. I was sending them by rail and I was picking up and sending them to the town where I was not carrying them, but
Yeah.
so I went to that town, to Skarżysko-Kamienna, found out where was the camp, and after around 6 o'clock, I went on the street next to the camp, and I was whistling the tune. I was walking back and forth and whistling, inconspicuous. After a few minutes, I heard a response from the camp. My brother was there. So, the next morning, I went again, but early in the morning I found out from people what the order there was, when they go to work and so on. And I went in the morning when they were supposed to be, they didn't work by themselves, they were guarded by guards, you know, from the camp to the factory. So I went on the street where they were supposed to come, and I was again whistling my tune when they came. So my brother noticed me, and he was working, he was walking close to this walk on the street, and when he passed me, I told him, I'll come in the evening after dark, I'll throw you bread, and inside will be the address where I live and some money. Now, he was desperate because he was so already he was desperate, but he couldn't escape because he didn't have where to go. If he would escape, they would catch him very quickly because he didn't have where to go. So I did it. I went back that other night and I threw the bread. He got the bread, he got the money. Now, it was not that exactly as I tell you, he described that event in this book.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, he escaped and he managed to come to the place where I was living with Kostek in Staszów. Now, soon after that, and I wasn't in when he came, but anyway, soon after that, on my trip, when I was coming back with shipping the chemicals, one important thing. My friend Kostek, my boss, he had a Polish friend who was in the Polish underground, and he was hiding in the same, he was from another town, from Kielce, but he was hiding in Stashov, where we were living. But he met my friend Kostek, and they talked, and when he found out that I am traveling, he asked if I could stop by at his girlfriend's apartment in Kielce, another town on the way. It was on my way. And get some clean clothes, shirts for him, because he was hiding in the forest in the Polish underground. And they didn't, And I promised that I'll do it. So, when I was coming back from my trip, I shipped the chemicals and I stopped in Kielce. I went to that place, but I was cautious. From the moment that I left the ghetto on false Polish ID, I was always looking back. Who is behind me? Am I not followed? I was very, very cautious, alert. So before I went to that address, I looked where that house was located, the street, and I found that the house was a big complex apartment house